Okay, what up, everyone? Sam here from 609 Sports Talk, coming at you guys with another video. And in this video, I want to talk about something that happened last week. As we already know, of course, it came out last Tuesday, the New York Knicks have officially relieved head coach Tom Thibodeau of his duties as Knicks head coach. And personally, I don't know how my other Knicks fans are feeling. I am irate about this decision to fire Tom Thibodeau. Thibodeau had just had the Knicks go on their best run since the turn of the century. 4 out of 5 years, Tom Thibodeau led the Knicks to the postseason. He just led them to their first conference finals in 25 plus years. They were 2 wins away from an NBA Finals appearance. And they had back-to-back 50-win seasons for the first time since the 90s. This has easily been one of the most consistent and best stretches the Knicks have been on. So now, the question is, how did we get to this point? Well, first off, let me get to the first one. The first problem that starts with this is to go along with, of course, the great owner known as James Dolan, who once again just proves that he is completely out of touch as an owner and just he fires from his hip. When he doesn't like something, he gets rid of it pretty quickly. There are reports coming out that he was the main reason behind this. And I have never been a James Dolan guy, nor have a lot of Knicks fans not been James Dolan people, but I think he has a big problem. He's one of the biggest problems to do with this situation. And I don't know how the Knicks have had such a up and down run as a franchise over the past 25 years. I mean, the only other solid run they had besides the last 5 years that Tom Thibodeau's been there was the 1 year under Mike Woodson when they lost in the second round to the Pacers, ironically, when they had Carmelo and Stoudemire and Tyson Chandler was Defensive Player of the Year. Everything outside of those 2 runs, it's been mediocrity. I'm sorry. And James Dolan's a big reason for a lot of that mediocrity. So I don't understand how Tom Thibodeau gets you 2 wins away from an NBA final and you fire him during one of the best stretches in the franchise's history, especially easily their best run since the turn of the century. But what really cracks me up is how more of the blame isn't going to GM Leon Rose. Don't get me wrong. Leon Rose is a good GM. I think he's a solid GM. But he's got his fingerprints on a lot of reasons why the Knicks are not currently playing in the NBA Finals. And a lot of it has to do with the moves they made in the offseason. And I understand some Knicks fans may agree with me on this. Some Knicks fans may hate my guts for what I'm about to say. But there are moves that were made this past offseason that I don't believe the Knicks should have made. And now let's start with the first one. Now, Knicks fans, hear me out on this before you flip on me. It starts right here with the Mikal Bridges trade. I understand the philosophy behind it. First of all, I am a New Jersey native. I've grown up around Philadelphia sports. I watch plenty of Villanova games. I watched Mikal Bridges blossom at Villanova to being a national champion to what he's done in the NBA. And I completely understand why you go after a player like Mikal Bridges. But the Knicks gave up. Forget the players involved in the deal. Just in the trade, they gave up 5 first-round picks and a 2028 pick swap. I love Mikal Bridges. I really do. But Mikal Bridges is not going to be a top 2 player on a championship team. He is a very good 3-and-D versatile defender who can guard anywhere from 1 through 5. Yes, he can guard some smaller centers if you asked him to with his length. But to trade 5 future first-round picks and then pick swap in 2028, in my opinion, that's just too much to give up for a guy like that. And I love Mikal Bridges. I think he's a good player. I don't think he's a superstar player. I think he's a very good player. But I could get around Mikal Bridges. I see the philosophy behind it. I can get away from that. Now the problem is you definitely mortgage your future by trading away all those draft picks, but the Knicks have been known to do that from time to time. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. Here's the move that I still don't understand. And that was when they let Isaiah Hartenstein go, basically just walk in free agency and go to the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are now currently playing in the NBA Finals. The reason I hate this move, and I hated it from the start, it's not because of what they replaced Hartenstein with. I'll get to that trade in a second. But Isaiah Hartenstein did so many important things for Tom Thibodeau. Just think of how Joakim Noah ran with the Bulls teams that he had when D Rose was the MVP, right? Isaiah Hartenstein, he does all those little things. He does a lot of pick and rolls. He runs to the hoop. He finishes around the rim. He's got one of the most annoying floaters in the NBA because it never misses. He runs the floor. He grabs rebounds. He guards the team's best big. He blocks shots. He protects the rim. He's good, a really solid help defender. And he has taken a lot of pressure on the defensive end away from someone like Chet Holmgren this year in Oklahoma City. And he did everything, those little things that Tibbs liked. And the fact that they got rid of him, it really hurt the Knicks. It especially hurt their front court defensively. Now, the other thing I really despise about this entire thing, it has nothing to do with the fact that Isaiah Hartenstein just walked. Because I found it really crazy how he just walked in free agency. There was never much to go on after he left. There was really no negotiations with him and the Knicks at all, from what it looked like. He basically left very early in the process. But now, let's talk about the guy that the Knicks replaced him with, and that would be Karl-Anthony Towns. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Karl-Anthony Towns. He's one of the best scoring bigs in the league. He can shoot the three. He can still post up. However, he's not necessarily the kind of center that Thibodeau has for his team, offensively or defensively. Thibodeau likes guys that run the floor, block shots, rebound, good defenders, set good pick and roll. A ball-dominant score-first center is really not what Thibodeau looks for. He had Joakim Noah in Chicago. Rudy Gobert is, unless Gobert, I don't think Gobert may not have been there when Tibbs was there in Minnesota, so let me retract that statement. But still, I like Cat. I think Cat's a good player, and he's a solid reason on why the Knicks got to where they went. And it doesn't really go against Cat as a player. The other problem with the Knicks this year was with the trade for Cat, they had to give up Dante DiVincenzo, Julius Randle, and another first-round pick. And that kind of depleted the Knicks' depth all over, because another thing with the Knicks this year is they weren't deep of a team. I mean, the entire starting five had to play a ton of minutes because they really weren't that deep on their bench this year. The only really valuable bench player they have is Miles McBride, who averaged 9 points per game this year for them in 64 games. So I know a lot of Knicks fans aren't big Julius Randle guys. And then DiVincenzo, he was a really big player for them in the postseason last year. He hit big shots. He gave them scoring punch off the bench or if he started. And he was annoyed with the franchise after they traded for Bridges. And then they re-signed OG Anunoby, which I'm not upset with that either. OG and Bridges, those are two of the best wing defenders in the NBA. But by re-signing Anunoby and trading for Bridges, DiVincenzo basically saw his chance to start it all go out the window. And they were basically going to run with a one big four-wing type lineup. They had Cat, Anunoby, Bridges, Josh Hart, and Jalen Brunson, who has turned into a superstar in New York, by the way. So I understand the philosophy of the Cat trade, but it doesn't fit what Thibodeau likes. Hartenstein filled that role of center to the T for Tibbs. Tibbs likes centers that are really good defenders, that run the floor. I'm not saying Cat's a bad defender, but he's not a great defender. I would never say if I'm trying to get a defensive stop, I want my one-on-one matchup going to Cat. And I'm not trying to be rude there. Honestly, the better trade partner in Minnesota would have been trading for Rudy Gobert, who's a run, jump, and dunk shot blocking center. I know people like to make the Rudy Gobert jokes. He's not the best player in the world. I get that. But I'm talking about in terms of fitting a team, he fit the Knicks' philosophy more than what Cat would have done. And you probably could have kept either a Randall or a DiVincenzo, because I think a lot of people don't talk about enough is how good defensively Hartenstein and Randall were as a front court last season. And they kind of just took all of Tibbs' defenders in the front court away to add more scoring, which it ended up not helping at all because they still lost in the conference finals to the Pacers, who are on a run right now. But I personally don't believe Tom Thibodeau should have been fired. I think this is a scapegoat thing. I think Leon Rose deserves a lot of blame for this, for his roster construction, because he traded away like 6 first-round picks in 2 trades. They've got a lot of guys on their team that I don't think fit Tibbs' system. I think Brunson's fine. Hart's fine. I think Anunoby and Bridges are fine. I don't think Cat's a fit for what the Knicks want out of their center. I thought Hartenstein was the better fit, and I think they should have prioritized him more in free agency, maybe even more than Anunoby. Because if you knew you were going to get Bridges, I think you could have lived with not re-signing Anunoby. I know Anunoby's a good player, but then you could have probably kept a Randall and a DiVincenzo, and you could have still had a really good team. I think the Knicks would have been good either way, because I think that's what kind of coach Tom Thibodeau is. And don't get me wrong, Tom Thibodeau is not perfect. I'm aware of that. But he's still responsible for the best run the Knicks have had in over 25-plus years. So in my personal opinion, I think this move by the Knicks firing Tom Thibodeau was a mistake. Because who are you going to replace him with? Jason Kidd, who I keep hearing his name come up? I don't even know any other top candidates that they could look at. But Jason Kidd, I mean, he had one solid run years ago, and since then, everywhere he goes, he gets fired within 2 years. So I personally think the Thibodeau firing is a mistake. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. All my Knicks fans, leave a comment, drop a subscribe, let me know. What are your thoughts on the Tom Thibodeau firing? I don't like Thibodeau being fired. I think it's a mistake. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.